You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. We can now see more of what's happening inside the body than ever before. What changes when we stop fearing the results and start using them to stay well? The sixth and final part of the Ascend series is coming up. This episode contains adult subject matter and some listeners may be triggered by this content. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to our special Ascend series, episode 6. In the sixth and final part of the Ascend series, we explore how the body communicates and how awareness can guide us toward balance and vitality. Modern innovations now allow us to see the body's complexity with new wisdom, offering a glimpse into the intricate intelligence that keeps us alive. Anaez, formerly Nate Zeleznick, is a globally recognized speaker, energy master, biometaphysics expert, and visionary healer. As the creator of the Integrated Ascension Method and co-founder of Ascended Living, Anaez bridges ancient Indonesian royal energy practices with modern neuroscience, biochemistry, and advanced frequency medicine, unlocking extraordinary levels of healing and human potential. Currently healing an inoperable brain tumor, which was reduced in size by 50% in just a few weeks, Anaez is using his own method, a fusion of breathwork, meditation, biohacking, supplementation, and the support of some of the world's most powerful biochemists and energy healers. Here is the sixth and final part of this extraordinary series, D for Decode Your Body, with Anaez. Hello and welcome everyone to our last part and the sixth and final letter in the Ascend series today, D for Decode Your Body. And I, of course, am here again with Anaez, who is joining us to speak about the Decode Your Body episode and wrap up the Ascend series that we've been talking about over the course of the last 5 weeks. So welcome back, Anaez. And I am excited to dive in. I feel like this is one of the most important parts also to talk about, as we've just chatted about. And I'm excited to wrap up the series with you today with D for Decode Your Body.
Petra, it is an honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for this beautiful series. And to everybody who is out there listening, I'm so happy to be here. And I hope that you found value in everything that I've shared thus far. I really feel that everything thus far in the Ascend, from awareness and then breath and then center point reset, eating to thrive, and then the new frequency technologies, all of these things are actually very interrelated in our overall health. But this last one, decode your body, is absolutely crucial, because if you don't know if you need to address something, human nature is we're not going to address it, right? So getting ahead of, say, a tsunami of, say, a tissue issue is so much better than trying to tread water once it's hit you. Trust me when I say this. After a brain tumor diagnosis, if only I would have known 6 months or a year ago, it would have been much easier to surf the wave, so to speak. So I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And we've just gotten the most amazing comments on this series as well. And our listeners are so tuned in and enjoying this information, because it is hard, as you have said before, to find all this information in one place and actually get insight into what is happening, what you can do about it if you receive a diagnosis or a challenging issue that you're working with. We've gotten the most amazing resonance on this, so thank you again for sharing your time and your wisdom with us. I feel this has been such a wonderful series, and I am so happy that we can share this information. And as you were saying, the part that is, I feel scary is when we don't know what is going on. And this is something I feel we are seeing more and more, is that we receive a diagnosis, but we didn't even know anything was happening before then. So scary place to be. And I'm so glad that you're here to actually give us a bit of insight on why and how this happens. And of course, how we can work with that.
And I'm happy to be here too. That I think I mentioned in another episode that where the brain tumor was discovered on my brain stem, where they can't operate on it, can't biopsy it, they can't actually get in there to see they just can MRI and say, oh, there's a big thing right there. But it had been, before I shrunk it, and it's still on its way getting smaller, it was pushing on my center for breathing. Now, in the central nervous system, in the brain stem, if you have anything go wrong with that one, it can have your heart stop. It can have your breathing stop. It's some major stuff. It's not like I have a little brain fog. It's no, I'm dead now. And there have been a few times, especially in April and May, where my diaphragm stopped working and I was asphyxiating. Fortunately, with my breathwork training, that's what saved my life. I will say that, especially since I teach hypoxic breath. If you go back and listen to episode 2, Source S for Source Through Breath, we talk about intermittent hypoxia and how important it is to be able to hold your breath, not just hyperventilate, but also hypoventilate and what that does. And if it were not for my ability to hold my breath past where most people would have passed out, I wouldn't be here. I actually had to a couple of times punch myself in this, like almost a Heimlich maneuver to get my diaphragm to fire again. It was pretty scary. And the thing is that if I would have known earlier, I could have gotten ahead of it, like I said. And so for me, I'm very passionate about letting people know what kind of tests are out there. Now, I do not work for any of these companies. I don't receive anything from them. I want to help people know what they can do to actually test and find out what's going on in their body. Now, whether it's a brain tumor or whether you have Crohn's disease or whether you have Lyme disease, dis-ease, whatever it is, there are some different things that we can do to get a peek under the hood of our vehicle and get a window to the inside. The first one that I did many years ago is called an ALCAT test. So ALLCAT, ALCAT or ALCAT, however you say it. It's a blood test, but what it does is it looks at your blood and looks at the things that are in your blood, all of which are above my pay grade to explain. But it does give you a full, comprehensive list of different foods that you process well, things that are very inflammatory for you, things that are totally don't eat this because you're allergic to them. And it tells you also a really good plan on how you can implement these different foods in your diet in order to maintain or obtain ideal health. So the ALCAT test is amazing. You can order that through your doctor. Here in America, you can go to a place called LabCorp. They order the ALCAT test. They send you the test kit. You go to LabCorp. They do the blood draw. Don't do this at home. And then you send it back in, and then you get this report. And it's very eye-opening. For instance, I love sesame seeds. Tahini is one of my favorite sauces. And there's only one food that I am highly inflammatory and allergic to, and that happens to be sesame seeds. I had no idea. But the blood doesn't lie. What's inside of us, we have things going on that we will never be aware of. For instance, a cellular biologist told me this like 2 weeks ago. They told me that in the human body, we have about 50 trillion cells. All of them are doing about 6 trillion functions a second. 6 trillion, that's 6 million functions per second per cell. And so our body every second is doing roughly 36 septillion things a second. And that's a 36 with 21 zeros behind it. It's unfathomable what our amazing body is doing. And sometimes it goes and it does. It's usually on autopilot, taking care of things. But I think we all know what it's like when it's not. Just eat some bad Mexican food, and the next day your body is telling you, this isn't what I needed to have happening right now. Knowing what's happening in our blood is very important. So the ALCAT test. I also recommend another test called Viome, Viome. This tests your gut microbiome, which is really the cornerstone of your immune system. In our body, we actually have three brains. We have our head brain, we have our heart brain, which has roughly 40,000 brain cells, neural cells in our heart. We actually can think with our heart. And in fact, they're finding that the heart actually processes information before the brain does. And then we have our third one, which is our gut brain. And a lot of people don't know this, but the small intestine of the gut actually has more nerve cells than the entire spinal cord does. So when you get that intuition, trust it. When your heart tells you something, trust it. When you try to logic things out, listen to your brain and listen to your gut and listen to your heart too. But why this is all really relevant is that inside of our gut, we have so many processes going on. It's not just I eat food and I poop it out the next day and I got all my vitamins. No, there are a lot of things that are happening in there. And so when you do a Viome test, yeah, it's gross. You have to poop on a stick and send it into a lab. But how else are you going to know what's going on? You don't. It's worth it that one time to find out what your gut microbiome is saying. And then it will actually give you other foods and different things to eat. And sometimes it's interesting. The ALCAT test and the Viome test, sometimes they mesh exactly really well. And other times blood is saying one thing and the Viome is saying, you can eat a little bit more of that, even though it's slightly inflammatory. But if you eat this as a result, you can get. So Viome, absolutely incredible. And a good friend of mine is the founder of another company called the DNA Company. You could just go to the DNAcompany.com. Now, all of us, we understand hopefully that we have our genes, we have our chromosomes, right? And these have the different building blocks for our body. Some of us may have certain genes that are upregulated for, say, breast cancer or for whatever. But it's also been found that around 95% of our genetic code is malleable, depending on the conditions. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the founder and the godfather of epigenetics, has proven this over and over. Now, if you're born without legs, you don't have the genes for legs, but you just don't. Okay. And my friend Kashif, who founded the DNA Company, he found out after every time he would eat beans, he would get really sick. So he had his genetic profile done, and it turns out he doesn't even have the gene that produces the enzyme to process beans. He doesn't have that gene. It's not in his DNA makeup. Needless to say, Mexican food's out for him, unless he's got the rice, but not beans. So the DNAcompany.com, and that's something you only have to do once in your life. Your genes are going to be your genes. But if you know what genes are turned on and why you have difficulty processing gluten or you have a difficulty processing lactose, maybe it's a genetic thing. But then again, maybe it has to do with glyphosate or heavy metals, and you have cadmium or aluminum or lead or mercury or something in your body that's also doing that. So along with the DNA Company, I recommend, if you're able to do this, to get a heavy metal test. And the thing is, we do live in the most toxic time in human history right now. We're burning all kinds of medical and industrial waste that goes into the atmosphere as dioxin, causes endometriosis, causes all kinds of different things. We have our poisonous water, food, and air. That's why bottled water is so prevalent now, because 60 years ago, you didn't need to buy bottled water. As a matter of fact, you couldn't. There wasn't even a market for it. There was no bottled water. You just drank water. But now, with all these things, I tell you what, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what is going to be healthy for your body and what's not. So that's where the last thing that I'm going to talk about today in just a moment really comes into effect, because even if you do all these different tests, there are still things that may be under the hood that are completely hidden. So far, just as a recap, ALCAT test for your blood, Viome test for the microbiome in the gut, then the DNAcompany.com to test your genetics, heavy metal test to find out if you have these heavy metals, and next thing is parasite testing. Now, the World Health Organization, I read a study many years ago, and it said that they estimate 95% or more of the human population does have parasites of some sort. Now, there are different kinds of parasites, right? So you've got the long tapeworms that are like 30 feet long. Gross to think about. But then we also have the roundworms, things like hookworm, heartworm. Then we have planaria, which are flatworms. Then the fourth kind is the amoebas, or the single cell protozoas. And these are microscopic. You can't see them. Even if you check diligently, you have to have a microscope to even see these things. But it doesn't mean that they're not in our body doing their thing, stealing our food, and then also putting off what are called mycotoxins, because everything that lives does create its own waste product, right? It just does. So if they're having this growing in yourself and then they're producing these things, it's no wonder that you might feel bad or crummy, but you don't know till you don't know. But there's one thing that I can say with that is that if 95%, according to WHO, have parasites, there are things that you could do right away that can help rid you of parasites. The first one is nicotine. So not smoking, don't smoke, don't chew tobacco, but nicotine, let's say lozenges. Nicotine is being shown now to be one of the most powerful anti-cancer, anti-tumor, and anti-parasitic substances that there is in the world. And it's also, some studies are coming out showing that it's not nearly as addictive as was originally thought. Now, when you smoke, you've got about 300 different chemicals that are burning, and then they're combining to create upwards of 4,000 different chemicals. They're finding now, from what I'm reading in the medical literature here in America with the National Institutes of Health and other places, that it's those things combined that go into your body and create that addiction. So nicotine by itself is relatively benign as far as addictiveness, but absolutely wonderful when it comes to parasite cleansing. The second thing is called zeolite. And zeolite is a type of clay. And in Africa and other parts of the world, animals will travel for hundreds of miles to places where they know they can eat clay. And they eat the clay, and it rids them of parasites. They just know they need this. And so elephants will, rhinos will, there are all kinds of animals that will travel to certain places to eat the clay. And we're no different. We have a body, we're biological. And so the clay, you don't have to go and dig it out of the dirt and eat spoonfuls of clay. Instead, you just get a little dropper full of zeolite, and you can find all kinds of different manufacturers. Or you can actually DM me, and I'll more than happy to send you over a link for the one that I found to be the one that I use. Another kind of anti-parasitic, especially for the gut, is called diatomaceous earth. And people spread this all over their gardens, right? You spread it on the gardens, it kills bugs. And it's natural, it won't go in and harm you on the vegetable. But if you get food grade diatomaceous earth and you just take a half a teaspoon of that in your shake, it's really amazing. Yeah, the parasite, the small ones, they have a real hard time with diatomaceous earth. And so those are some of the ones right off the bat that I would recommend. There's also selenium and other antioxidants that you can take. It's very important, though, that before you just start popping all these different things, actually, I would say, ask ChatGPT what the interaction is. And if I weigh, let's say, 49 kilograms, how much of these things, and give me a plan, give me a breakdown, a stack of what I should take and when during the day. The other one, and I think it's probably the most powerful of all of them for the intestinal parasites, is activated charcoal. And you can just get pills. Just don't eat burnt wood. You don't need to go extreme. Just get the pills and just take a couple. But they're binders. A lot of these things are binders. Like the zeolite is a binder. Diatomaceous earth is a binder. The charcoal is a binder. So if you take it with your vitamins, it can actually bind to those vitamins and make it so they can't be absorbed in your body. So you do have to time these things so that when you take your vitamins and supplements, those go in and are used by your body. Then you take the binders so that they have nothing interfering with them and they can actually go and do their job. Heavy metal testing and parasite testing, very important. But then for me, and I don't know if I shared it on this series, but the whole reason why I even found out that I have a brain tumor is because I was poisoned, testosterone poisoning. So I went to my primary care physician because I had no energy. And he did a hormone panel, which I recommend for everybody, especially over the age of 30. But really, with all the endocrine disruptors like glyphosate and things, and even EMF, getting your hormones checked in your 20s is absolutely crucial because we don't have the hormone levels that we used to, and they're all out of whack because of what we're putting into our body, even just breathing. I got this hormone panel and it said that my testosterone was pretty much cratered. I was like, I should be up in the 700 or 800 range, and I was like 150. And I had no idea because you don't know till you look under the hood. And so I was put on testosterone injections, way too much, and it poisoned me. And the direct effects, I'm not going to say side effects, I'm going to say the effects of being poisoned with this is what led me to actually go to the emergency room. And then they did the MRI, and then they found the brain tumor. So I'm actually really grateful for the malpractice of my former physician for that reason. However, your hormones are your master control switch. Your estradiol, your estrogen, your thyroid, your testosterone, these things, if they have to have a delicate balance in order for your body and your mind to function properly. And if you don't know, you don't know. So you could just order that through your doctor, just a male hormone panel or a female hormone panel. They'll do the CBC and all the other things as well. But then you'll at least have an idea of what is going on. Otherwise, you just don't have a clue. And then finally, the thing that really helps tie a lot of this stuff together is something that I do, something that I've been a certified practitioner for many years, which is called the body code. And I think we talked a little bit about this in E for Eat to Thrive, episode number 4. The thing is that your body is intrinsically wise, infinitely wise. Like I said, our body's doing 36 septillion things a second. Our conscious mind can only process about 40 to 50 bits of information per second. That's it. There's no way we can understand all of what's going on with our conscious mind. So with that said, we can, however, by using muscle testing, applied kinesiology, and magnet therapy, using this body code, which is a patented modality, even if we're thousands of miles away, we are still connected to the universal consciousness and the quantum field. So I can ask, let's say, Petra, you and I were having a body code session, and I were asking questions as your proxy with your permission, of course. Is there something on this body code chart? And there is an app and there is a chart for practitioners that take us down a very cool rabbit hole that can be pretty much anything can cause anything. And what I do is I ask a question, is this, or is it on this side or this side? Is it this or is it this? And it has to be binary, right? For muscle testing, those of you who are familiar with muscle testing, we can't ask, what is your favorite color? We have to ask, do you like blue or do you like yellow? Yes or no. But once we're able to do this, and we're able to really help your subconscious mind release and unpack what we're asking about, it is incredible the results that people get with the body code. And I actually offer packages for that for people that have, say, a tissue issue, or maybe it's a emotional trauma, maybe it's an imbalance of the body. There are basically 6 different things that can lead to chronic imbalance in the body. We can have an energetic imbalance, circuitry imbalance, like the meridians in the body. We can have toxins. We can have pathogens like viruses, bacteria, mold, fungus. We can have misalignments. Anybody who's ever been to a chiropractor and had them readjust your spine, and then you're like, oh, thank God. It could be a misalignment of an organ. It could be a misalignment of your dental meridians. Everything should be in alignment, but If you've ever had a crick in your neck or pain in your neck, sometimes we're out of alignment. And the last one is nutrition and lifestyle. So maybe it's herbs, maybe it's food you're eating that you shouldn't be, or you need to eat certain foods for certain enzymes or vitamins. Maybe it has to do with how much sunlight you get. Maybe it's earthing and grounding. Maybe it's a magnetic field, electromagnetic field disturbance, which is actually considered a full-blown disease in Japan. It's electromagnetic illness from all the Wi-Fi and all the things. And those of us who are very sensitive, we know when we go under high voltage power lines because the hair on our neck stands up and we can feel it in our body. With everything in the universe being information, frequency, and vibration, the body code really dives deep into that on the physical, metaphysical, mental, emotional, and etheric, and even spiritual levels, to ask the body, to ask the higher self, is it this or is it this? Wow, I had no idea. And I've had people with scoliosis that couldn't walk right for 30 years. 2 sessions, their back straightened and they don't have pain anymore. People who have gone to chiropractors every week for a decade. 1 session, they don't have neck pain at all anymore. And this is the results typical. Honestly, I can't guarantee healing, and I'm not medically certified. I'm not practicing medicine. But I can also tell you there's no side effects. There's just good effects from this. So the body code is something that on my Ascended Living site, people can actually go to the offers page and they can get on a call with me. And we can actually find out how I can support you. That said, with the body code, since your body is intrinsically wise, it's infinitely intelligent, we can ask whether it's a hormone imbalance, whether you have parasites, whether it's something genetically. And then we can actually do something about that, or whether it's correcting it energetically, or maybe there's something that you need to take that your body says, I need this kind of thing, this kind of supplement, or I need to do this kind of exercise. Your body knows. I think most of us really, deep down, we know that our body knows long before our brain does. And that's why these decoding protocols are so valuable, is because how many people go in for a regular routine checkup and then they find out they have stage 4 metastatic cancer and they weren't feeling bad? How did it get to that point? How did it get to that point? You'd think if you step on a nail, you're going to say, ow, I have a nail in my foot. But why is it when it's something that is so serious that sometimes we don't get the notification at all until something either pops up on the radar on accident? Like with me, I didn't go there because I thought I had something wrong with my brain. I thought I had something wrong with my whole body, which I did. But then there's also when people are like, oh, okay, they start coughing and blood comes up and oh my God, and now it's lung cancer. The thing is that why wait to find out these things when we have the ability right now, quickly, to get ahead of the curve and find out if there's anything brewing? I think it's honestly, Petra, it's human nature for us to respond more than be proactive. That's just normal. We've always been this way. Humans are just like that. But when it comes down to your ability to stay here on this planet and be alive and be pain-free, to have energy, to live a long and hopefully happy life and have this longevity, isn't it worth just taking a peek? Especially when it's easy. And I know it's scary. For a lot of people, they're like, I just don't want to know. But then I would ask you to actually, if you close your eyes, if you're in a place you could do that, and take a nice deep breath in and check in with yourself. How am I doing? What part of me is hesitant or scared to find out what's happening inside? And just asking that question and sitting with it as you breathe deeply and relax. What part of me is hesitant or afraid to know what's happening inside? For everyone, it's probably going to be a different answer. but it's all the same. I don't want to know I'm going to die. A newsflash, everybody. We all will have a final destination of an urn or a casket eventually. But there's a great blues song for everybody out there that likes blues music. It's older. It's by a man named Albert King. It's a great song. And the song's called Everybody Wants to Go to Heaven, but Nobody Wants to Die. And it's true. That's why biohacking is so big now. Because people want to extend their life and they want to live in vitality. They want to live in great health. They want to live in vibrance for as long as they possibly can until it's time to change addresses. The technology is there. And with the new frequency technology, like we talked about last time, with the PPTV cells, with the frequency foundation, with Rife machines, with energy healing, with quantum healing, there are all these different things out there that are not just, put it this way, you can decode your body, but then what? Let's say there's an issue, or let's say there's not an issue, and you're like, yes, no issue. I want to keep it that way. That's where the ASCENN of Ascend comes in. But also with D for Decode Your Body, with body code sessions, that actually is more along the line of the N for new frequency technologies, because it actually does something to help rebalance the system energetically and physically, or like markedly. In just minutes, it actually does this. Kind of like the center point reset. It's a stark contrast for a lot of people, but it also can be used to get a deeper look. I don't diagnose disease. That's for the medical profession and their medical equipment to do, or these other tests. They could tell you as well, possibly. But the thing is that when you get the idea about it and then you release it, then it's like N and D, new frequency technology, and Decode Your Body wrapped into one. So it blurs that line. And honestly, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a test that just tells you, oh, yep, there's a problem? Or would you rather have a test that's, oh, yep, there's a problem and it's now energetically corrected? Oh, same time. Okay, good. Now, can it work on everything? No. But it can work on a lot. And I've had people like a 14-year-old that wet their bed every night because of a trauma. 1 30-minute session, never wet the bed again. So it's not necessarily always super duper, oh man, the sky is falling, tissue issues that the body code helps with. Sometimes it can be just what you've felt a sticking point with your abundance, or if you had a sexual trauma when you were a child, maybe you don't even remember it consciously, but your body does. And it may have been affecting you all this time. And once you release it, it's like the angels sing, oh, and it's, whoa, I haven't felt like this my whole life. That's very typical with body code. So all these things combined, they give us this opportunity to know more. Belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. You can believe I'm cancer-free, but until you actually know, you don't really know. And for myself, honestly, Petra, I knew before I went to the doctor that it was a brain tumor. My intuition told me. I was listening to my gut brain and my heart brain. I knew, like in the core of me, but I didn't know with my own 2 eyes until I saw it on the screen. And I really feel that a lot of people in the world, they overlook the signs that they do get, the feelings, the intuitive knowing, the hits. Okay, I'm just going to suppress or repress that, and I'm going to go on about my life and ignore it. There are some schools of thought out there energetically that are just say, think about what you want, just ignore it. If your ankle's broken and you continue to walk on it, first of all, you're not going to really be able to ignore that. Second of all, if you do that, you might be doing more damage. And then you have misplaced bones and you have all kinds of problems. Get it taken care of. If you get the feeling, do it. And if you're listening to this right now, you're getting this signal from the universe in the form of me coming to you, letting you know there are all these tests available that can help you in ways that even 10 years ago weren't even available. So I'm just blessed and honored to be able to share these different things with people so they know more of what's available. And the fact that I caught my thing early and I can shrink what's going on in my brain and be that inspiration and permission for other people to do the same or more. And that's what I'm really, I think, most excited about, is being able to support people on their journey so that they can do even greater things than I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Thank you for sharing all of this information. And I feel that most of the time when these tests come back, they will probably show something, but there are things that we can work with generally. So I just want to say for our listeners who maybe get these tests done and there is a grave diagnosis that follows or something is really wrong and they are panicking, can they connect with you to work on these things? Because that's what this Ascend series has been all about, right? Is providing the support and the knowledge if something were to go wrong. So they go out and get these tests and they come back with a really scary result. How can you support them in that journey?
That is why I'm doing what I'm doing, Petra, is to be able to support people when they have had diagnosis or prognosis that are really not preferred, aka dire, possibly terminal. If people go to my website at ascended.living, you can go ahead and connect with me, connect with my team. Those of you who listen to C in the series, you connect directly with Jemaya. If you're interested in the body code session work with me, you can do that on the offers page and connect directly with me. We'll have a one-on-one, just a complimentary discovery call to find out what you're dealing with and how I can support you. And yes, if it is something that is, say, along the lines of Alzheimer's, or it's the C word, neoplasm, the big C word, that I would say time is really of the essence. So reach out, and then the new frequency medicines, I just can't even explain how amazing they've been in my life and Jemaya's life and so many people's lives. Nothing is guaranteed and we can't promise anything, but I can say this, that we call the person we work with the miracle engineer for a very good reason. And even if I heard them refer to this the other day, even if the warlocks in the white coats, I thought that was funny. The warlocks in the white coats say, you have 3 months, you have 6 months. Bless their heart. They're just telling you, based upon the bell curve, of what they expect with whatever X issue is, because that's what they've seen and that's what they've been told to say. But every single one of us is unique. All of us are different. I know personally people who are stage 4 breast cancer, stage 4 colorectal cancer. They were given 3 months, 4 months to live. And now a decade later, they're cancer free. So I would say Dr. Joe Dispenza has a wonderful saying that I have adopted, that it's important to believe the diagnosis, but don't believe the prognosis. If you have a tissue issue, okay, that's what's up. You have a tissue issue. But if they tell you you only have this long to live because of what I say, please don't give your agency and your sovereignty to the people in the white coats, because they're not you. That's why in Ascend, A, for awareness and mindset, that is the absolute most critical part, to know that you can be whole. You can be healed and healthy. To know this in your heart, you'll actually start producing chemicals that will help you receive that. And you'll also start manifesting it from the quantum field into the physical, and then to take the other steps. So ascended.living is how you can find me the most easily. And I'm here for you. Just know, everybody out there, I am here for you. We all have our stuff. Every single one of us has our stuff, and we all know people with their stuff. And wouldn't it be great if we just had some support through that stuff that could potentially give us the extra 5, 10, 20 years on our life, so that we don't have pain, we have lots of energy, and we live that long, fulfilling life that we all want. It is. And I'm happy to pass along the information to people who reach out to me.
Yeah, I feel that's what it's all about. It is certainly about preserving life when it comes to that point, but much more, I think it is about living a healthy life so that we are not wheelchair bound or limited in the things that we want to do or suffering and can't actually enjoy a quality of life into old age. I feel there's a point there that you're making as well, as we want to maybe be a bit more proactive rather than, you said, reactive, because we don't want to get to 50 or 60 and can't play with our grandkids, can't go on trips, can't do this, can't do that because we are bedridden or there's something wrong with us. This preventative stepping up and working with that fear of not wanting to know. And I can relate to that. It's not something that you're really excited about, is finding out that there might be something wrong with you. But I think afterwards, it's a bit more reassuring once you've looked at the test results and you actually know exactly what you're dealing with. And most of the time, they are things that you can work with, parasites that you can rid yourself of, heavy metals that you can detox from. And when you finally know what your gut and your DNA are up to, you can actually feel much better because you stop eating those things that irritate you, just like you and the sesame. So that's a good thing to know, because you might be suffering for a reason that's very simple to prevent, but you just don't know what it is. So absolutely. And in addition to the things that you mentioned, of course, that we live in a fairly toxic world, right? Doing the things on the back end that we can do to make ourselves healthier, of course, goes a long way also in at least having a good, clean foundation when we're dealing with all of these things that are coming at us from air, from water, from the food that we're eating. But there are things that we can affect, even though that is out there in the world. So I'm wondering, do you know, Anaez, if these tests are available outside the US as well, or is this a US specific that you were talking about?
These ones are pretty US specific, that is, as far as I'm aware. However, I'm sure Europe is usually quite a bit more progressive than the United States when it comes down to a lot of medical things. So if you just go and look under ALCAT test, let's say it's not that specific brand in, say, Slovenia, you can always look for what is and do your research. And honestly, I think that's one of the most amazing things right now that we have available to us is the information to become our own physician. To find out what's going on, we might need some tests. But when it comes down to our own treatment, we have so much information available to us that can give us insight instead of just saying, okay, the white coat person said, take this pill. I'm going to take this pill because they said. Okay. But then what if you wind up taking 10 more pills to combat all the side effects from all the pills you're taking, which is very common. And especially in the United States. I just saw this stat in the US. We have, I think, 4.3% of the world's population, and yet we use over 70% of the world's pharmaceuticals. We are way over-medicated here in the US, for sure. And that's a big business. It's a real big business. Here in America, we understand we have the most expensive healthcare in the world. I think a lot of other countries understand that too, that you're like, oh, whatever I do, if I go to America, don't get sick, don't get hurt, because medical is the number one reason for bankruptcies in the US. So that said, as far as with the European Union or throughout Asia or Africa, I'm not sure, Petra, but I know that if you look for Viome, look for ALCAT, look for hormone panels, talk to your doctor, you can find them. You should have no problem.
Amazing. And yes, I think it will be more beneficial if we proactively work on our health rather than wait for that to sneak up on us. And that's the thing. If you hadn't had that MRI done, you may have not even known in time. And that happens so many times as people didn't feel anything. They didn't notice anything. They were completely fine. All of a sudden they collapse. Or there is something that kind of like you, they go in for a test for a very different reason and all of a sudden find out. So it is better to know beforehand, find out in your area where you live, what's available. I think there are also a lot of functional medicine practitioners available internationally that can maybe point you to some of these tests or may even be able to request them if they're not overtly available by that name. But I think there are some standard things like hormone panels and things like that that you can definitely run. I know that some of the parasite testing can be done. They're called tropical institutes, but they can be done at these tropical institutes that test for parasites. So there's no reason. And most of it, I think, especially in Europe, actually is covered by your healthcare. So it's not even an out-of-pocket expense most of the time if you request it. So I think that can be helpful as well. And can we work with these, for example, the heavy metal, if you find that you have heavy metal, like mercury, I think is a fairly common one, what can be done about that? Can you support people in detox processes, or how do we work with that?
Definitely. So even with the body code, since everything is vibration, energy, and information and frequency, if you neutralize the frequency of a heavy metal, it can actually pass more easily from the body. That's the theory. When it comes down to, we can also test using body code whether you need chelation therapy, which helps remove toxins, the heavy metals from the body. There are other things that we can ask. What is the best protocol for you to remove these heavy metals? Yes, absolutely. But just the thing is that everybody's going to be a little bit different. So I don't know until I actually get in there and we ask the right questions. And the thing is that with heavy metals, I think we all have those. If you've ever had a soda pop, like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, it's an aluminum can with phosphoric acid that's leaching that aluminum into the liquid, and then you're drinking it into your body. And that's one reason why they're, I think, referred to as heavy metals, is because they stay. I've never heard of light metals. Honestly, never really heard of light metals, but heavy metals go in and they can stick with us. So especially if you live in an older house, old house, maybe they have lead soldering on the pipes and you've been drinking lead and that stays in your system. Maybe you have had root canals if you're older, or you had fillings and they used mercury and it's off gassing. So you have this mercury going into your body 24 hours a day. That's a big one. Get rid of your amalgam or mercury fillings. Go and have your dentist remove those and replace them. And when they do, they're going to have full gas masks on. There's a reason. And they put that in our mouth.
Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, right? But there are more and more holistic dentists actually that will also help you with that. I've also seen here in Europe, they help you with the full process of removing those and then actually detoxing after as well. So yeah, I find that's a really good idea to get that done and get that poison out of your mouth for sure. Yeah.
Because it goes right into the mucous membranes of the mouth. It's just like boom, and directly into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I feel like you've provided just an amazing treasure chest of resources and access points for listeners to go to and find their pieces in their path of where they can go next. And the body code is amazing. I love working with that too. I highly recommend that you guys go and book a session with Anaez, because there are absolutely amazing things that happen in the body code sessions. It's always, I think, really incredible to experience that for yourself. So find out what the body code session is like for you and book a session with Anaez. And I think also the center point reset would also be amazing for listeners to experience. You can pop back to the episode where we discussed the center point reset, but I think those are all also really great things to start with, maybe while you're waiting for tests or you're getting tests done and you're making your way. And those, of course, are remote. So even if you're not in the US, you can start with those things while you're sorting out the actual physical testing piece, and you can already start on your path that way. So lots and lots of amazing things for our listeners to connect with. And we, of course, will be listing all of that in the show notes once again, so that listeners know where to go and how to connect with you. And I just want to thank you for spending the past 6 episodes with me and sharing this wonderful program and the information with our listeners. It has been absolutely incredible to learn from you, hear your story, and understand that we have this innate wisdom to heal that we can tap into. And there are so many amazing approaches now that we can also utilize for our health and vitality. Thank you so much for joining me, Anaez.
Petra, it has been my pleasure and my honor. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate that a lot, to be able to share this message of hope and also specifics of what we can do to live longer, to be happier, to be more in balance. Life is for living. Life's not for getting through. Life is for living. And I know how hard it can be if your body's not functioning well, or if maybe there's something in your mind or your energy field that is keeping you out of balance. A lot of people feel like they're just getting through their life. That's not why we're here. We're here to learn, and we're here to live. So however I can support people in doing that, I will, until I'm not able to anymore. But that's not today. So everybody, look forward to seeing what we can do together. And much love to you all, and to you especially, Petra. I really appreciate the platform to share this.
Absolutely. We share a passion on supporting and helping people, and you have this lived experience that will give listeners this insight, real, true lived experience with insight. So wonderful to put the series together. We're going to wrap it up today with our last letter, D, for Decode Your Body. And this was our 6-part Ascend series, where Anaez walked us through each of the different letters of his program on a journey through longevity, vitality, and healing. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for these past 6 sessions. And we will welcome you back, I hope, for another series sometime where we dive into maybe some of these in a bit more detail even. I think our listeners would love that. Thanks, everyone. Take care and be well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.